Priscilla can't. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
Priscilla can't make it, and David emailed me today and said he's stepping down from the committee.
Is David gonna be here?
No, he's not going to be, he's stepping down from the committee. So,
Oh, I'll be the oldest one here. Makes me nervous.
yeah, so it's the last member is Priscilla Ford, who has, I think, like 18 guests or something crazy this week. If she can.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, a huge number of family.
So how many do we need for a quorum?
We
We've got
need 3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got a quorum here. And we have a lot to talk about actually, so let's try to move along and get this, keep it under an hour. So I have a few things here. Did everyone get the agenda? Yeah, okay, great. And here are the minutes if you need the minutes
That's from the last meeting.
from the last meeting.
I got that, but do you have your agenda?
I do have an
Oh, no, I
agenda.
left mine on your phone.
Yeah, and this agenda, we're gonna jump around a little bit. You want an agenda?
Oh,
Just make them as a
you
shot,
can
but
share as long.
I don't have many things in my
Okay.
house, including a printer at the moment. So,
All right. And then actually, I'll give you these when we get there. These are the.
Yeah.
Yeah, the flyers that we had made in the past, and then some other information that we'll talk about. All right. Let me get sort of organized here. Okay, so you never got to meet David in this group, but he has stepped down, as of today. He was on the committee for many years, I think, right, Dick?
Mm.
Yeah. And Maddie, I'm so excited that you are joining us. And thank you. I think it was Larry who connected.
yeah, I was
You
like
to us,
thinking
right?
about it and it kind of makes sense
Yeah.
that I should be on this.
Yeah.
So
We're so appreciative.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
you will
happy to
have
be
much
here.
more sort of knowledge about this than.
Yeah, I think it's good for me also to think about things outside of my typical wheelhouse. But yes, I'm a licensed geologist, so I know some things about rocks and water. I like to think so.
And you work for the DEP.
Yes, and I am I'm called a hydrogeologist specialist for DEP. So I work in the Bureau of Remediation. So my main focus is on contaminated water. So I do a lot of the technical side of both ensuring that when water is being remediated, usually by either large or small entities, that it's going as planned, and then some of the more technical side of that too, as well as my technical expertise is PFAS. So I know a lot about PFAS, but I also know a lot about a lot of other kinds of contamination. I know less about some of the more pertinent concerns at Islesboro, like water level, and that's more hydrology, we call that. So I'm a hydrogeologist, but
I see.
I know a little bit. So I think I know like enough to be dangerous, which can be good or bad, but yeah. So I'm happy to be here and happy to help out.
And Rod is a hydrologist.
He's like everything. Rod used to be like my boss's boss when I worked in the private sector, but he's wonderful. So
Yeah,
I loved working with him, and I know he's been a fixture within the community for forever. So happy to hopefully reconnect with him if he gets this done.
Yeah, for sure. I talked to him, or I texted with or emailed with him, and he said he was interested but he wanted to work with you. So
Great,
I'll let
okay.
you know more about
Love
that.
to work with him.
So before we get into the agenda, like I said, we're gonna jump around a little bit because there have been some new things. Larry forwarded to me an article in the Mid-Coast Villager. I don't know if you saw that. You saw that as well, right? The article in the Mid-Coast Villager. It was also, a version of it was also in the Bangor Daily News about the drought on Islesboro. And, I talked to Mert actually, because it looked like they interviewed Mert for the piece. And Mert said he was never contacted.
Really?
was very much wondering about that.
Yeah, I think they just went off his post or his email or,
Huh.
yeah. And then built the story around that, maybe, I'm not sure.
I will say from the DEP side of things and publications, we've had some very similar frustrating
Uh,
situations like that from a couple of different people. I think
Like
it's
journalists who were writing.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think it's without
Journalists who write.
correcting
Yeah, okay.
anyone, so.
But this sounded like he'd been quoted.
Yeah,
It did.
exactly.
I know.
I figured he had reached out to them, so I'm sad to hear that for him.
Yeah, no, Mert said he was surprised too.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, not that there's not an issue,
Yes.
but I mean, it's, but he, yeah, I just thought it was funny that he didn't talk to us or he didn't talk to
Anybody.
anybody out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the people at the paper should be informed that
Yeah. Hello, Janice, how are you?
Good.
Come
Hi,
join us.
Janice.
We just started.
Can I sit here?
You can, you won't be seen by
Oh.
the owl, but.
Oh, well, I'll sit over here.
Okay. So, it's definitely dry. I can tell you, the garden is very, very dry. Mert said that he has been digging in graves and it's very, very dry as well, he's noticed. And I asked Mert how he, made his decisions about when to put up like the fire, don't
No.
burn.
Yeah.
And, whether he was, taking measurements somehow, and he says, no, it's just, he just knows. He's been doing this for so long, he just has a sense of when it's just too dry. And digging the graves also, he could see that it was very, very dry in the soil, the surface level. However, that US drought monitor that we've been looking at, do you ever look at that?
I look at it all the time.
I do too. Dick, do you know about this?
What?
The
Drought-
US drought monitor?
Drought.gov.
I'm gonna send you this. I'm gonna show you what you can look at. It will tell you, this is where we were getting our information last year. Oh, I hope I can connect to the internet. Water. No. Oh, sorry, hold on. It's right here. Okay, so if you go to drought monitor, I'll send you this. It's a little bit of a complicated address, but you can put Maine in here. You go to the comparison slider, you can put Maine in, you can do it by state, by Maine, and then you can type in the dates and it will show you with this little, color
Yeah.
patches
Yeah.
where we are in terms of the drought classification. And right now it's just saying we're abnormally dry. Last summer, we were in said we were severely.
But if you go to the other website, which is,
Oh, are you looking?
which is so, it's what I learned at that meeting that Maddie spoke at last year.
Is this not the one you're looking at, the US drought monitor?
That's what I generally look at. I will say the data input quality and amount of data going into the federal modeling is very different than it was even a year ago.
Because of cutbacks?
Yes, so I don't know about that model specifically. I know with some of the other modeling that I do, we run into some stuff with that. It doesn't mean it's not accurate. Sometimes.
I was
Yeah.
led to believe that it was updated every Tuesday.
Oh,
Yes, I think this is.
Yeah, but anyways,
Every two.
you can just go to drought.gov,
Okay.
try that.
I
And
think that's the one I'm thinking of.
Well, and it opens up a lot of information.
But my understanding is it is abnormally dry right now, but not quite
Does
as
it
bad.
compare
as it was.
one year to the next?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is you can see it.
You can put in which dates you want to compare.
And you can put in your zip code and,
I don't know how we looked at
Okay,
today, this year versus last year, or the year before that.
so did that come up?
it didn't come up. Am I spelling drought right?
That's a great question.
Grautht.
These search skills.
Wait,
Oh, here, I got it, okay.
see how easy that is? And then you come down here,
Go down.
yeah, and
Okay, so look, it's saying abnormally dry for us up here as well. Can you just click? Go main page. Yeah, it's saying the same exact thing.
Yellow is not as bad as red or
That's
something else.
right.
well, that's interesting because the last time I looked at it, we were down in the orange, the D2, you
Oh,
know, about a month ago.
that is funny because it definitely is not very
And
much.
it's great. We just had that one storm.
Which was like barely anything. Yeah, so last November, I'm sure you know, but we were like in the exceptional drought category, so. But it's very dry out there and we should definitely be measuring the wells and paying attention and doing what we can. So, oh, also, I just wanted to mention that this is why Dan's here, I think, is because he's writing an article and someone else is also writing an article. Saskia Grisaro is writing an article for the Islesboro Island News. So, it's great that, people are becoming more aware because we definitely want to take care of this resource.
I think one important point to get out there that I'm happy to share more information on, especially if it's going out to the wider community, is that when we do have severe drought or even just lowered water table in general, there are some things you want to keep an eye on as your well starts coming back up. Like as we get a rain, it can sometimes increase the amount of sediment, depending on if you have a sediment filter. Sometimes it can kick up bacteria, things like that. So that's something we always kind of try to warn people about if they notice a change in odor or taste or color. It's just an important thing to keep an eye on as we have these fluctuations, especially.
Somebody said anything about that?
No, I mean, I'm sure there's information that we can get out there easily, but yeah, it's something that just happens pretty typically with groundwater wells.
Well,
Even large high producing ones, sometimes if they get low enough, we think of it as like washing your car, kind of. It's dry and it's wet and a bunch of stuff comes off of it. So that happens as the water comes back up.
Oh, interesting. Like on the inside of the case.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, so we're gonna get to this, but we're planning to get information out there in various ways. We'll talk about the flyer in a second, but let's finish talking about testing the wells while we were sort of there, I guess. So we have historically we have checked wells, and I don't have a complete picture here, unfortunately. I think there are records out there that I have yet to find. David passed all of this along to me, and so I have 5 years.
Raw data.
4 years actually, and then David and I took a few measurements last year. So, but there's definitely more data out there that needs to be located, but we have in the past measured the wells at the end of August, around the beginning of September. There are a few outliers, but it seems to me we should measure the wells like all of them at the same time so that we can compare sort of more accurately. However, I was talking to one of the founding members of this committee, Jim Mitchell, and he recommended that we test a few now just to see where we are.
I would suggest that too. I think that is something I am happy to help with, and I can bring a water level meter that will probably make the entire experience a lot easier.
We have a meter, you
Okay.
lower it down and then
And
it hits
beep.
water beat. Yeah, cool. Yeah. we've got
Yeah, so we have a team.
Yes, the three of us can go.
I'm happy to help.
Oh, good.
I think it's unfortunate we don't have the old data, but on the other hand, I sort of think we have to look at all this fresh and just start from now.
Yeah, I
And
do. Although it does.
we
help.
compare to the old 5 years, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I think having the more, usually the approach is the more data, the better. That's not always true, at least my line of work, but I will say that, the more consistency throughout, the better the data set will be. I would suggest doing quarterly if we can, that can give a much stronger picture, especially if you try to keep it within the same week. And there are other options as we think more about drought and what that looks like with the electronic monitoring, which is not nearly as expensive as it sounds, but there are something called a transducer, which would be able to give us more real-time data about what's happening with the aquifer. If we decide in the future we want to look into that, I definitely can.
That's an interesting idea. And do you think that like, how many of those would we need to put out on the island to get a clear picture or a clearer picture
I
of?
would have to look at that aquifer report from it's like 90s or 2000s, I think, for a better idea, but probably not that many. We have a single source aquifer, so hypothetically, what's happening in one area should be happening in another area.
Right, yeah.
So we'd want some spatial coverage, but it wouldn't have to be a huge
I think
amount.
the original ones had like 25.
Mhm.
We have 20, yes,
Yeah.
now we have 25 wells that they were checking.
Do we
And
know where they are, detailed?
we do, well, I have names.
Because I can find them on the map
Oh,
and pick
yeah.
them up anytime we want.
Oh, and we can
If
see
they're done
that.
after 1987,
Mhm.
when the law was passed, that requires all the well diggers to submit to the state the details of the well. And I have the details of the well that was drilled 3 or 4 days ago next to me. And I have it right here from the state.
That's just the depth of the well and how much it
The
draws,
depth.
right?
The details of it, there's about 6 or 7 different details on the well, not just the depth, the quantity, quality. Now, quality is an iffy issue except for salt, they can tell salt water from fresh, Jacob. But beyond that, unless it's dirty or some, obvious, or smells bad or something, and that's rare. The only thing they know is the depth and the quantity and the location of GPS. But that's pretty significant. If you've got test wells, I can pick them off the chart. You can look them up right now if you want to. This is Islesboro, and those are the wells from Islesboro.
That's
And
great.
just put your pointer on it, up it comes, and it comes up with the details. This is the details of the wall that was built next to me 3 days ago.
How many would you suggest
And the
starting with?
hydrologist in the state is very helpful. Mary Sikowski, she was very helpful with me. And I was getting curious, and I spent, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 hours with Ted McLeod, who was the foremost well driller on the island. And he's got 50 years of experience, more than I have on that subject. So we spent a lot of time together on the side issues of whether if you get 30 gallons of it right here under this floor, whether you're gonna get at the other side of the building. And the answer is no. Nature has its own way of deciding where that the aquifer really lies and how deep it is. And the depth really counts, generally counts. And it costs $35 a foot for a well from Ted McLeod.
That's a good
So
rate.
I have a lot more details about that stuff than you normally would have. And and I'll get into what my response is on the planning commission here. They have
Oh, good.
their biggest concern, is the 100-foot separation between septic and well. And you have to tell them where the well is, and you have to tell them where the septic system is. And the town, this is the town's only obligation, is to make sure that separation is real. And before they give a permit to build a house or something. So that's where the planning commission comes in, it's the separation. They don't have anything to do with the depth of the well or the quantity, only they're assuming that it'll work. And they'll have enough water. So
Okay.
that's basically all they really care about, separation, and I don't blame them for that. Even though the wells are 100 and some odd feet deep, generally speaking, septic is about 8 feet. So it takes a while for it to reach down into a well, even if it was right on top of it, presumably, but that's the reality of 100-foot separation is pretty big. So,
Yeah, we're finding that a lot.
and wells seem to last. They really do. I asked Ted about how many times people that you know have run out of water. And he could only remember 2 times on Houseboro, and he's done I think probably the majority of wells here. Only 2 times, and that was because I said, what did it happen? He said they weren't deep enough. You know, these are the practical considerations of a well deal. So they had to go and they just dug a little deeper and bingo, they got water. But deeper is 400 feet, 500 and 600 feet. It's a lot. The average well depth in the island is about 250 feet. That's what came from the well builder. He's been very, very helpful, by the way, particularly
Yeah, he's great.
when he knew that the water committee is meeting. Because his concern is that the town need not get into permitting wells. Because the state does it now. Basically, they provide the data. As long as the separation is correct. So.
I will
was an
say-
interesting thought.
A note on that data set, I work with it a lot. It is more accurate the closer to now you get. We do have some issues with accuracy from the old records when they were scanned in.
Sure.
Because also, McLeod's actually great at record keeping, which is wonderful. We do have people who submit them and it makes absolutely no sense, which is okay too. So, you know, we always want to be careful when relying on that and, you know, double check on the ground. But I think to your question, I'll have to look at the map, but I'm sure you could look at the 25 that we have, put it on a map, get a good idea of the depths from what Dick was saying. And, the GIS stuff that I have, and we could probably pick 10 points, 15 points, that would be feasible. And, you know, we want a realistic number that's not gonna feel like a huge chore and something that we can do in an hour or two. But yeah, I think depth is just as important, which Dick said too. Depth is just as important as where they're located, in a lot of ways, because you think about the way a groundwater well works, it's a big open hole, there's a bunch of different fractures going through it, there's a bunch of different water going through it. And just because there's been water in a fracture doesn't mean there's water in a fracture now, depending on how the aquifer is as a whole. So I think a 400-foot well somewhere topographically might be a 200-foot well somewhere else. So we always have to think about things like that too. And I'm happy to take a look at that and put some numbers on a map.
Oh, well, a couple things. I think it would be great for us to get all of this data that's like floating around here all in one place in a spreadsheet. So that we can actually like compare more easily. But also, Jim Mitchell mentioned that I think they had a consulting firm come in and choose these locations of these wells. So that information might be out there, like.
I was wondering if there must be, I mean, we have this image is a great example right here. I don't know if that's like from when Kathleen or Shay was a fellow, I bet it was, but we have that data somewhere. We just have to find it, but I bet there's a paper copy in the town office
Can we assume that they filed the well water information, the test wells with the state?
I am assuming so. I will double check that. That's from my computer.
We have, this is a diagram of the wells on Houseborough right here. And here, that's not in color, this one's in color, and it's a little bit more. This is Ferry Road and so forth. So we have doggone good data.
Yeah.
And if you tell me where the test wells are, I can pinpoint it in an instant and bring up the details. And what are the details? The details are such things as what depth did they discover the water? And how deep did they drill? And there's two different numbers here. The one that was drilled to me last week was 95 feet to find the water, the vent, they called it a vein. And went down 120, I guess, just to confirm he could get the water, and he got 30 gallons a minute. I didn't sense any panic on behalf of the well drillers and water quantity, even though it's a drought. The wells are down pretty deep and they're probably not as impacted by the drought as you'd expect, as you might expect. Well, I'd be happy if I didn't print out as many. I didn't know how many people would care. But I'll be happy to send them around. This is what you can get from the state. You can print it up right now.
Tell me,
Called,
where you found this?
let me read off what it's called.
Oh, it's, here we go. There's search like the main water well.
It's called, survey, well water database, digital data on the main geological survey.
It's
Right
main.gov,
here. Yeah.
this right here.
Well, yeah, well, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
the same, yeah.
Okay.
This came from Mary. But you look it up and it's amazing, you could, how
That's
much information
interesting.
you
Well,
can
that's
get.
great, because I know the town doesn't require,
No, and-
Most
homeowners
We
to
don't need to,
supply
as long as the
information.
state's doing
Right.
it and it's what we want, the only thing is quality. And that is I was talking to some of the students, to the town people, they buy about 50 bottles a year of test water that is sent out by individuals. They don't know the exact number, except they're buying 2 boxes of 25 bottles and they all disappear.
yeah.
So the test wells water tests are done about 50 times a year, but we don't know the results. You know, I'm almost tempted to call the company that goes to it and say, hey, if there's anybody's bad water, call us. We'd like to know.
So this is a little bit more in depth than what we've talked about in past, so that we were sort of focusing primarily on the water table level.
Right,
And so the issue really here that you're bringing up, Dick, is how often do we check the quality of the water? And how variable is that? It sounded like the water table in a single source aquifer is going to be about the same throughout. Maine.
Water table, it depends on many things.
Right,
The water quality will not be the same though.
right. And so that's the thing is, I mean, we have to pick out sites that are near industrial areas. We have a few of those,
Mhm.
and the
I
transfer
think we should
station,
find out. I think if I called the company in Maine that does all the testing,
and they're doing it.
huh?
They're already doing it.
Likely will not release.
Do they tell us if the water was bad?
Probably not.
But
They
isn't that
won't.
private?
Yeah.
I understand privacy and the law and so forth to that extent, but I think they would alert us
We,
on it, on
Well,
a.
I sort of agree with Dick. I mean, I can see not telling us when everything is fine. But if they find a problem,
but if it's on private property, would they, I don't know. It'd be, we could try, because there's no harm in trying, I suppose.
Yeah, I know, like, the main things that would be tested for on any, especially if it's a new well, would be what we call like water quality parameters, so that's kind of what you would get in a normal testing kit, so it might not have some of your other things. I sampled the landfill recently for various things for DEP, so those will be publicly available, but that had not been done in a long time. Because it had been, for good reasons, because it had been clean for a very long time, and so they kind of had to stop monitoring it.
What were you testing for?
So there's an old landfill back there, the closed landfill, so as part of the closed landfill program, it's been 30 years, so we sample for what are called landfill parameters, it's nitrates, everything from VOCs to volatile organic compounds, all kinds of things, because if you think about it, a landfill just has everything in it. It could be anything, and so there's a wide swath that we do. And that was just kind of a routine one because I live over here now and they have somebody to do it, but
PFAS too, are you checking
we
for?
did do PFAS too and not gotten those results back.
That was done fairly recently here,
Yeah,
in that location too, I think, and again, non-detect. or
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, I think one of the things we discussed in the past, it sounds like we struggle with a little bit, is this issue of if it's been fine for 30 years, we're gonna stop testing.
yeah, that's
And-
the typical approach.
Well, and we heard it in this committee. Mostly with water level, the water table levels, not with quality issues. But we may not know what has happened to a site.
I agree.
I mean, I think you can focus a specific test when you know something has happened. But we might not know. I mean, can there be intrusion from someplace else that is going to affect the quality of water in certain places on the island?
It's possible, I think.
I think it's possible.
Yeah, I will say as a hydrobiologist, the key to being able to do meaningful things with that is having consistent data.
Right.
So I do think, I personally would not suggest stopping water level because I think the more information we have on that, especially as we move forward into whatever's gonna happen in the next 20 years with our climate, and especially thinking about saltwater intrusion and things like that, the more information we have on typical water levels, the better. And that being said, I think we need to approach it as this is a volunteer committee, so we don't want to overwhelm ourselves and say we're gonna take, 30 wells every month or something like that, because that's probably not gonna happen, but choosing the appropriate amount that we can actually stick to.
I think they actually did do that in the very beginning of this committee.
I remember that,
It was
yeah.
like every month, I think they were testing. And then a consultant came in and said, I think it was Lisa Robinson maybe,
Mhm.
who said that you don't need to do it
Yeah.
quite so often. You can do it just she recommended just twice,
I-
but four
Twice a
times.
year.
Quarterly.
Twice, she recommended in the spring and then again in the early fall.
Well, but there's two things here, is we are a volunteer committee. On the other hand, I would see part of our role to be working with the population of the island to recommend when should each of the house owners think about checking their own water. I mean, we personally did it like 2 or 3 years ago, and we're sort of thinking we want to do it again. But we have to be able to give them the information and tell them how much it costs to do it and how to interpret the results.
Exactly, and that's what.
Lucky for you, you have somebody who looks at results all day now.
I know.
Yeah,
I don't think the tests are very much, the quality tests are not very expensive. I don't-
but they don't include everything on there.
no,
It is
Like
no,
that.
The quality test should evolve with,
The quality test doesn't care how deep the well is or where it is or anything else.
well, that's fine, but at least
You
we
wanna
know
try
you
to
can
do
drink
together.
it.
But they're not testing for like PFAS, they're not testing
Well, they may
for
be.
VOC, right? They're
No, they do not.
They don't do that.
metals on. Heavy metals aren't.
A lot of them
They
don't do radon.
Radon is a separate test.
Radon is
Is
separate.
that changing over time? It's just,
No, radon is,
Hmm.
it's partially that some labs don't have it, like a very basic lab, like Maine Water. Actually, I think Maine Water does have radon now, but a lot of like very basic labs, especially in the 90s, early 2000s, when this really kind of kicked off, didn't have radon equipment, and didn't have heavy metals. It's a very different analysis. And so now more and more labs have more of that stuff, and it's primarily because most labs are getting bought up by larger corporations like everything else, and that comes with some increases in what we're able to do and able to request, but for some reason radon just remains separate, and it's partially that it is more expensive, and so it's harder to sell a test to people.
And it's a separate file and it's a separate
Mhm.
process.
It's a little
and-
bit of a tough.
Yeah, we have radon in our water, so.
We shockingly don't, but it very much is hit or miss
Yeah.
with radon. Some people have it in their water, but not the air. Some people have it in air, not water.
Yeah.
You can have radon and your neighbor might not necessarily have it. It's,
It's patchy, it's like
Mhm.
arsenic on the
yeah,
stone as well.
exactly.
So I think that part of this information that we're getting out there, we could ask people to
Oh, wow.
submit
Mhm.
if they get a well test that is, high in arsenic or radon, or whatever, we could ask that they submit that to the town or to the committee, and we could keep track of it
Yeah, I
somehow.
think, and that, I think it's worth asking the labs. I will be honest, they likely will not provide that. But I think the key is asking people,
Mhm.
just getting the word out, and that's
Yeah.
something that was discussed when I went to one of these meetings. God, oh my gosh, how many years ago? That was in like 2017. And I think it started happening and maybe just fell off with COVID, but
Yeah.
when people, I think if we just help explain why it's important,
Yes,
and that's the key,
exactly.
because it is important. The more information that we have about that. I think a great example is that I had some low level PFAS in my water that there was no way to let anybody know. And so I think
Oh,
that's an
here?
important thing. Yes, here. And so I think that's an important thing to know.
Understand that, it is. Yeah.
my neighbors know, but there's not like a good way to do that. So if we just have an email or something that people can submit them, I think that would be helpful.
Yes, completely. And, right, we should have, so our website should be updated and have all sorts of helpful information on it. And perhaps that sort of thing could be.
And even if it's redirecting to, here's a good resource from the state, here's a good federal resource, here's a good
Right.
different resource. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of good information out there, especially for radon and arsenic.
Totally. Okay, so just to sum up this, the well testing, the three of us can maybe go out and test a handful of wells. And I was thinking we could do the three that David and I did last October. Just because we have last year's data on
Yeah.
that.
And I'm happy to digitize that if you want.
Oh,
It
so
will
I
be
mean-
very easy.
Thank you. It might be helpful, but I will sit with you and
Yeah.
give you the numbers. I
Yeah.
think two
Perfect.
people would be easier.
And we're gonna start that now rather than waiting until
Yes.
September.
So I think we should do a handful of wells now. And also, Jim Mitchell recommended doing 2 up island and 2 down islands. One in each location, 1 up high and 1 down low near the water. And I don't know the reasoning behind that, but does that make sense?
Kind of. I would have to look at a map and think about it a little bit more.
Well, wouldn't that reflect
Yeah,
well depth?
Well, that,
hypothetically, but then there's people like my in-laws that inexplicably have 500-foot wells, and I don't know why, because John talked him into it or something, but so it's really just depends on many different things. So I am happy to look at that in the next week and take a look at where those ones
Okay.
are and think
So
about.
this is our team,
so this is our team. I think we should do it in the next.
and we're gonna use the current equipment that we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
already.
It works.
So we don't need Maddie's fancy equipment,
It's
Yeah,
probably the
is that-
same thing.
and that's checking just water table level.
Water level in the wells.
And how about quality?
Well, that's another thing to discuss when we do maybe our larger
Mhm.
testing in the early fall. Late August, early September.
Right.
Do we want to do some water quality tests and what would we include in those tests?
Yeah, definitely.
And when you're doing it on private property, do they have to give permission for that?
I would assume so.
Yes, I mean, they're giving permission for
Yeah,
us to
we have
do
to
the water
call them
table,
just
but
to, yeah.
some people might not wanna know what's,
I would think that they would be like, yeah.
I think most people would be thrilled for this.
I think they would be too.
And I don't know
I'm
how
always
much,
shocked though.
So do we need permit forms?
I don't know.
I can share what we use for the
Okay.
same idea.
Okay, and yeah, Maddie, if you could maybe come up with like a list of what would be
I'll think about that.
to check for. And I know, so we have a budget of $500.
I was at that
As we all
meeting.
know. 500.
That was it.
That is not gonna get us far, but I'll see what I
And
can do.
at the town meeting, that was questioned.
So good ask. What's this for?
So you can test 5 wells then, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, so that was it's for something else, whatever, but
You
we
stood up and.
have-
Yeah.
we have, I don't know what it's called, but like we have money that's set aside for us. Every year we have a larger amount, so in case we need a consultant to come in case we need to test for PFAS and, something like that, we will have a larger amount than $500. So we
But it's
do,
not, it doesn't accumulate.
no,
No,
it just goes from
it's-
year to year. It's
right.
at like $1,500 or something like that. It's not a huge, but it will probably pay for the water quality test. Yeah. Okay.
What do they cost?
A full suite with arsenic and radon would be, so we're probably getting, it's like 140 right now at the state.
No.
Private lab might be cheaper, but either way would be fine.
Hmm.
I don't recommend the state lab over something else. I think most places are equivalent. There's very stringent standards about quality of them, and it's more about price than anything. The nice thing out in the state is that I can drop it off there, but that's the only thing. Cause I think that is one of the challenges of testing water out here for both residents and us, it's that you need to get it out quickly,
Same day,
because a lot of
yeah.
them have 24-hour holding times, and so if it's like on Monday, I have some samples that take you here, so I'll take them early in the morning, I'll go off and I'll drop them off at the lab.
That's
Easy
awesome.
peasy, but
Thank
I
you.
can always do stuff like.
Good to
Oh
have
my
you with.
gosh, Maddie.
Like helping people in my
Like
field of
amazing.
work and research is crazy.
Okay, so moving on to the flyer then. So, I have a copy of the old flyer here. Well, it is called Classic. And Priscilla put this, oh, it's actually 2 pages, so.
Oh, wonderful, okay.
So I should have, did I forward you this? I did not forward you this. I feel like people have seen this maybe. Have you seen this, Dick? No?
Think so.
Dick, you quoted it.
You are.
Well, this is not what it looked like originally. This is a picture I took with my phone on a table, so it was a flyer, it looked like a flyer, but
Was this mailed to all residents?
I believe it was. I think it was sent out with like the town calendar,
Well, I think I have seen it, yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, this is great.
So there's a lot of good information in here, I think. I do think that there may be a few things that could be added. And also, I was wondering if maybe it could be made a little bit more like visual to help people just like look quickly instead of
Yeah.
seeing a bunch of text.
Sounds like something you should do.
Yeah, I agree. But yes, this is a lot of text. It's good information, but making it a little bit more easy to digest quickly would be good. It would be awesome if we could make something that people would hold on to, but I also think we should put whatever information is in here on the website. So people can then easily go and be like, how do I test my well? What am I looking for? What should I not be putting down my drain and such things? So Priscilla has said that she would like to, work on the update. And Maddie, I hate to rope you into too many things, but
We're good, yeah.
can we get you on board as well?
Yeah.
And I would love to be on board as well. And anyone else?
Oh, I helped with that. I helped with that.
Oh, good,
The whole
okay.
committee.
Yeah.
I think like if
Well, I
the
mean,
text gets put together, I can definitely look over the text and think about.
right, and then we can
Yeah.
meet, and that's our only topic, we can do it. And
Exactly.
I think that, question is, do you send it around to all resident families? I think those go in the garbage.
This is my concern. I wish there's.
Do you arrange? No?
I think it's because I'm so excited that I have that mailbox.
Do, we set up a table at the farmer's market like we
That
talked
too,
about?
I
right?
think is great.
We
Yeah.
talk to people in
Yeah.
person and say,
Yes.
and when we stumble, we can get them information.
Yeah.
Do we have a speaker come? I mean, it's all combined.
Yes, that's the
Yeah,
last
that's a
thing, and
great
that's a
idea.
yes.
And I think too, we all know people love their Facebook in this town for better or for worse,
Facebook.
but I think posting information on Facebook is helpful too.
It is, I'm not I don't do the Facebook, but
That's good, that's smart.
I know people who do the Facebook, so. Somehow the town could maybe post something. for it,
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Turn off comments.
Exactly.
Just kidding.
Well,
So,
all you need is one report of PFAS appearing in the water.
Yeah.
And there'll be a groundswell of interest.
so yeah, yes, right. Well, we will all be working on this so you can think about what to add. Dick, if you have anything after looking at this and you think something's missing, just send us an email. I think we should get on this soon.
Agreed.
So maybe in the next few weeks,
Agreed.
we can have something put together.
That's
So
great.
that there are still people here and we can still talk to people and.
The only thing that comes to mind is that, we have a source of every well after 1987, detailed on every well on the island. And someone, for whatever reason, may want to access that information. And they're right now, with what's been published, does not allow them to do so. And the geological survey part that I gave, and this is of the village of Islesboro in color. And these are the wells, not, there's here, and so forth. Each one of those is accessible. For whatever reason you may have, you may be deciding to build a house next to it. I'm not sure that counts because the thing can change from 50 feet from deep well to not. The other thing is that I asked Ted McLeod about we're running out of water, classic example. Everybody asked the question. He says, not that I know of. And this is a guy that drilled wells for 50 years. And I trust his judgment rather than someone who's not drilled wells for 50 years. Because if he can't find water, he's out of business. And he's found water. And I was flabbergasted. Next door, they found 30 gallons a minute at 100 feet a vein. Wow. I mean, there's plenty of water. So
And yet,
I think we should at least make public aware of the ability for them to find water wells on the island, on the geological survey maps, and maybe do a little homework for themselves, for whatever reason.
Well, that could be included on the website and in the
Well,
information.
however, if you feel it fits. Because
Okay.
I was flabbergasted that this much information exists in this much detail.
Yeah,
yeah, it
And it's
hasn't,
soon, it's not late, this is the last week you've seen here.
yeah, hasn't, the issue of do we have enough water come up in, situations of proposed major development on the island where they say, no, we can't afford because of our water supply to add 25 new houses on this one big piece of land. It's always been part of the argument there, as well as can the ferry handle it, can the water table handle
That was
it? Are
a issue,
people just speaking off the tops of their head?
that's this big issue, and at Northeast Point, as you might
Well, that's what
remember,
I'm referring to.
there was no zoning at that point in history.
Right.
I was involved with that, with the water committee a long time ago. And Bill Seymour was a selectman, and he and I had a lot of crafts right here, not in this room, because this was at that time. And I said, unless they have a municipal water system on that point that's suitable for all of those house lots, that can handle all stuff, we should just allow it. When I was involved with Stowe, I had a municipal water system. I was in charge of the utility system in that town in Vermont. And that's one of the reasons it was not allowed on the island.
Right. Now,
They
is that,
couldn't produce they thought they were gonna drill 20 wells. And
But
then
is
20
that-
septic systems.
is that
Northeast
based on
Point.
gut feeling or is that based on data?
What's that?
Is that based on gut feeling of I've been working in this field
You're
for
right,
50
you know
years?
something, I think I don't know if there's any hard data on that, but I don't think so. I think it was just a matter of Phil Seymour and myself, and I think a couple of other people said, hey, that's not.
Well, it's valuable experience of it.
I mean, I've never seen it happen when you have that many houses close together with individual wells and septic systems. They always have a central reservoir of some sort that's served by one or two big wells that are deliberately for that municipal system. And that makes sense. You can pipe it to different houses.
There are places in Maine where that happens, but it's not super common. Depends on many
Yeah.
lot sizes and things like that. But yeah.
Janice.
Well, I
has
had a
question.
related question. I have heard through the grapevine that one of the big houses down on the water is gonna drill 5 wells just to water trees. It just might be gossip, but do we have any kind of, I mean, is that enough wells that we would be worried about pumping out 20,000 gallons or whatever? I mean, do we have any rules about how many wells can be on one property or how much water people can take out? Or,
I do not think we do.
I mean, do we need to think about that?
Maddie?
Swimming pools, excess watering?
I would need Okay, so I'm pressed.
It's
I'm a
little outside your
hydrogeologist.
brain, you know.
So you're gonna hear me say this a lot. I need to like think about it and look, because a lot of what my job is and what I do day to day is based on a lot of different large data sets. So it's hard for me to pull things out of my head. That being said, there are very relatively easy things that can be done in situations like that. I would think if somebody's drilling 5 wells, they're probably doing a pump test along with that, which is when they're gonna pump the well as hard as they can to see many different things, but drawdown is what it's called. So if they're pumping hard on this well, is their well, 300 feet away gonna go down too? That would indicate that maybe the fractures are connected. That fracture might be connected to other people's wells too. So I think that would tell us a lot of information, but it would require some regulatory steps from the town for that to be required. I have no idea if there's a blueprint for that out there, but I'm sure some of the other coastal towns have been through something similar, especially with saltwater intrusion, because that's always a big concern. When you do have multiple wells pumping the same fracture, is that you're gonna draw in salt water, especially on those coastal properties, we all know, so.
Yeah.
I think it's not crazy to discuss that as a possibility or requirement, because hopefully nobody's drilling 5 wells for their
Well,
trees,
like I said,
but
this
you
is-
never
this is-
know.
this is like-
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's accurate, I don't know. That's why I'm not saying who they're talking about, but, would the town even know if somebody was doing that?
Well, see, that's the thing, Janice, in a urban environment, they know. Because it's all the municipal water supply, and if they find out one homeowner is all of a sudden using an enormous amount of water. They don't know why, it could be a leak, it could be.
Swimming pool.
Well, to
That
Dick's
was-
point though, the state does get that information, and they legally have to.
Well, on
That's
a
part-
municipal, but how
But
would
by
they
the
know that
time
on a
they have
private
that, the
well?
wells are already drilled, right?
Yeah, that's the problem. For private wells,
You
they
don't know.
do have to submit it. I think it's within 10 days. I've submitted it.
That's kind of a figure.
Mhm.
Look at all the dots on Owlsboro here on the map.
But
There's an awful lot
Yes.
of them down Island.
it doesn't matter because it's already been
Unless
drilled,
it's
so,
drilled.
yeah.
Right,
The deepest wells are drilled on the down island. Ted told me he got one down 600 feet because they weren't getting enough at 300 feet. Well, you know.
I just think it might be, I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing all this, but I would just think there ought to be some limit to how many wells one property can have before they're required to do what you just said. It
That's-
seems like that wouldn't be, I mean, if somebody's planning to drill that many wells,
You know, no way to know that these wells is,
well, it might be,
That's like
if
profit,
this,
but-
if this rumor is true, then it might be too late by the time, but.
Well, if the
future
building,
reference.
if the building, allotment
you know,
and the planning commission is, you need at least, what is it here, an acre and a half to build a house, right? So you could start with that, like, one well for building permit.
But if he's not
Acre and a
building,
half, maybe.
if they're not building, if they're
If they
just
just own land,
watering,
it's true.
So, we'll be talking about this at the very end of the meeting, but, Rod Pendleton, who is a hydrologist.
Hydrogeologist. as well.
Hydrogeologist.
He was a project manager I worked with a lot when I worked at WSP, which is where you.
So he knows a lot about groundwater and how it moves and where wells get their water from. And he gave a talk years ago about the groundwater on Owlsboro. I don't know if you saw that through IIT. He's going to come back again in September and give another talk.
great,
But
that sounds great.
he explains, he came and visited our committee actually. And he explained very clearly, I think, where you're like a single well draws its water. And I think he said that it's usually from about 500 foot radius, wasn't that it? Something like that. So while we have what's called a single source aquifer, which means that our aquifer is replenished by a single source. It brings to mind like a giant pool of water that we're all tapping into, but that's not really how it is. So like if someone down island were to put in, 50 wells and draw tons of water down there, it wouldn't immediately affect, people a mile away or whatever up here. However, it is all connected somehow, but it's not like a big pool of water. There are cracks in the bedrock that will crisscross, and they're all connected just like veins and like capillaries and all this. And so they're connected, but generally you're pulling your water from a smaller.
But this was the
area.
problem with the graphics.
Yes,
Don't you remember? I mean,
yes.
we're all sitting there at this talk and we're looking at the graphics and there's this big pond underneath the house.
The lens.
Right, the lens. It's called a lens. And it just didn't jive with what we were learning. So there is no pond.
There's no pond, right?
underneath ours.
And they're different depths.
And they're all different depths.
There's a pond at 600 feet, there's a pond at 100 feet.
Well, anyway, so,
And they're probably connected.
There's a pond at 600 feet, there's a pond at 100
There you
feet,
go.
and it's scattered all over the island in different places.
Anyway,
It's
so,
hard to know.
so even if this rumor is true, it might not really be that big of a deal. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying that, I don't know. I don't know.
See,
It would
I
be,
think-
Hard to know.
it's hard to know, yeah.
But I think to your point, I mean, if we're thinking about conserving
Yeah.
something that is a finite source, we do want to consider equity within that and what that looks like. As we think about, water is one of the things, especially in rural communities where there are not municipal systems, that can be forgotten about in some ways. Water volume and water quality is thought about more. And to your point, we want to approach this with an equity
mhm.
Yes.
mindset. And perhaps them drilling 5 wells, 10 wells, whatever they want on their property, if it is their own property and their money inside. I think being able to prove that they're not affecting people within a certain radius would be an appropriate task. If you have, maybe over X amount of wells on per X amount of acres, I think there would be a way to do that, or even just recommend that, as people get permits. So,
Yes, and as sort of an aside from that, I think about the sign saying no burning out there. We brought this up at our last meeting, is when do we as the Water Protection Committee come out and say, please begin to conserve your water at this time because of the underlying drought? And we had no answer to that question as to when you asked, or you asked that of your community. When that sign goes up, should people also say no car washing?
Well, Bert did say something like that,
Well, but it's not,
but it's not.
in
a
your
sign.
face.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm already doing it.
Washing your car?
No, even when I wash my dishes, I take the water out and I dump it on my plants, cause I don't wanna
Oh,
run my
I do
water.
that to the kids' pool. When I empty it out at night, I put it on the plants.
We do that at the garden too, yeah.
But I think that that's the future. We really want to know.
I grew up in Denver, so we always had water restrictions, but yeah, that
Right,
means that
well,
there are blueprints.
I
for
lived in California.
Yeah, like, there's blueprints for that,
Right.
that we can think about and how, even throughout Maine, there's definitely blueprints.
And as powerless as we are, we can make recommendations
yes.
to the public. And they can follow them or not follow them.
Well,
at
and to
this
the
point,
select
but-
board,
And to
too.
the select board,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it would be good to know whether they're
Changes to this, you think? Well,
Well, that's what we're going to discuss, so if you have any
yeah,
ideas.
I would,
Anyway,
I
thank
can
you,
write
that was my
up.
question.
Thanks, Janice.
Nice to
Thank
see
you,
you,
Jen.
man.
Nice to see
Are you living here now?
love to have your
Like half and
opinion.
half, we bought, the house next to the market. Yeah, we'll catch up
Yeah,
later.
And I can be happy to write up a paragraph about access to the geological survey. That would help it. And what you can find. I can imagine you start off, you end up with a section of Islesboro as small as you want.
Well, what we need is, we need all the important websites
Mhm.
on the flyer.
Yeah.
You know, the draft.gov, the geological survey, how to do a water test at home.
Totally.
Yeah, and if you, like, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, it's out there,
No.
QR code,
Exactly.
do a PDF of it with embedded links.
Um,
That asks the town to put it out in a weekly email.
so the things that I've been thinking about are, like I said, the visual information, explicit definition of a single source, so because there seems to be confusion about that. Suggestion or suggest that the info on the well depth or any water quality tests that come back with, you know, the issues be submitted to the town. I think we should have, and this gets into the next thing, more explicit information on what's illegal to be.
I agree.
So like, no, putting
Right.
out your drain and, like dumping, burning, all of that business.
Things that you would think would be something you maybe would not have to put out there, but I have increasingly learned the more time I spend doing this in rural Maine, it's not.
Yeah.
Well, this is, yeah,
Just education and reminding and, yes, hopefully putting it in people's minds.
Yeah.
well, we have, you know, flyers that come out and say, you know, no pesticide use.
That's true.
This is
Really?
analogous, this is
Yeah.
analogous.
Exactly. And so there was this, I found this in our file cabinet, household product management wheel, what not to put down the drain.
Oh.
And here's the household stuff and
Oh,
here's
that's
your,
awesome.
like, outside stuff.
How old is this?
Automotive, pesticides, paint, solvents.
That's all still true.
All
put that
of
down.
this stuff. None of this. What do you do with
Also
it?
really bad with your septic, but.
Yeah, all this stuff. And then this came from the DP about what you should not be burning. Not only what you should, it's not a should. It's what's illegal, yes. What you will,
Right, this should all be incorporated into the flyer.
exactly, yeah.
And as well as the toxic, recovery program at the transfer station that was last Saturday.
Right, yes, information on that, right. I mean,
It's all connected.
it's all connected.
Literally,
exactly.
because we have a single source aquifer.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, it's
The
a,
town doesn't know who's getting the sample model, they just hand them out. There's no record of that.
Yeah, I think,
At least as far as Dave Dyer, I asked him on several occasions about that.
I think establishing something within that, even. So when people are picking up, I know there used to be bottles here, when people were picking those up.
Yeah.
Is the town paying for that, or who's paying for that?
The individual normally pays, but it isn't a lot of money.
Yeah, so sometimes there are subsidized programs for rural communities, and then what we could do is just. Either work with the lab or the person to just say, you know, do you give permission for the lab to release these results to
That
the
would
town of
be-
Islesboro, or do you, will you forward them on, or whatever, because then the way they're delivered is called the.
That may not be a bad
Yeah.
expenditure for the committee, if we've got a budget. To
Yeah.
help pay
Yeah.
for the sample bottles to be returned, then we're gonna have a record of what comes back.
Well, you know, there's also this issue of the seasonal population. We've missed it this year,
yeah.
in the
I
sense
think
it's
so.
over
Yeah.
in 3 weeks. But I mean, it's a huge
Mhm,
land that is under their control.
mhm.
And,
And rentals too, in
Well,
that
I-
vein too, like,
well, I would think, right, I mean,
if
when
you have
when you get an Airbnb, are you asking what the water quality is?
well, no,
No.
but
But
I
why not
think
put
with
down the drain.
long-term
Not-
rentals, like if you are a landlord, there are rules in place about how often you are supposed to be testing. They are not well enforced, but I do believe it's
Oh,
annually.
Really?
And that's something the town could choose or not choose to, but choose to put back out there and say, You know, because we do have a lot of.
There's a lot.
That is interesting, okay. Okay,
We could have the lab send us a bill for the water quality test for an individual. And it probably would, someone told me it was $25 a test or something like that. I'm not sure that number, by the way. I have not confirmed it. But it's not a lot of money. It's
I can go back and look what I
Less than
paid.
$100.
I guess it depends on what kind of test you.
Yeah.
There were
I
levels
think
of
there's a
testing.
unique
My most
testing
recent one was
program.
140.
I was gonna say, mine was over $100.
Yeah. It depends
But-
on what you're testing for.
But, you know, they had levels of how much you want to test it out.
Okay, so, one thing I did not put on our agenda here, was, there was a situation recently where there was some, Betty and I talked about it, well, we've all talked about this, there was some, carpeting that was burned in a burn pile, and, that got us to sort of look at the ordinances for the town, and there's nothing that says anything about, what you can burn, except on I don't even know if it's on the permits that you fill out, like,
It isn't, because that's what I said when you first called me,
Yeah.
And I don't think it is.
it's just like when you.
And there-
and when, and-
And
yeah.
there are people like my husband who get a burn permit if they're doing a s'mores
Campfire, I
fire.
know.
And then there's people
Yeah.
who are not getting burn permits for huge bonfires, and I think that's an enforcement thing that's outside of our control, but maybe something that additional clarity on would help, because I don't think the s'mores need a burn permit. But
Well, there are state laws
Yeah.
that like can and cannot be burned. There's the whole permitting thing, that's one issue, like getting people to get a permit, let Mert know that there's a burn pile going on. There is, what can be burned, and there's nothing on, I think, Islesboro's in their laws about, or ordinances about what can or cannot be burned. However, at the state level, there are very clear rules about what you cannot burn, and they apply to Islesboro. So I guess my question is, does it make sense for us to recommend to, say, the select board to have an ordinance on the island that's explicit about what you can't burn? Or do we not need it because there are these state rules or state laws
Well,
that?
but if people don't know the state laws,
Well, if we inform people.
Right.
Somehow,
and if there's not that enforcement of the state laws, I think that's the key.
yeah. what
I
are the
emailed several
repercussions?
people and I got nothing back,
oh, yeah, okay.
which was a bummer, but also the state, like many places, is short-staffed, and when you're, deciding between a
Yes,
rollover truck with a bunch of stuff in it versus going out to Islesboro for, you have to triage, but I have no idea if that's actually what happened, but response is pretty strapped right now. But I think by considering or recommending to the board that we consider that or look more into it, it might at least get people thinking about that.
yeah, just increasing awareness,
Yes.
yeah, because if you,
Some
if you
people burn
see
because that's
someone-
what they've always done, and that makes
The
sense.
burning is just part of contamination on the island. I mean, it's part and parcel with, what do you dump on your driveway,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, there's, right,
Pesticides, et cetera.
yeah,
And when we think about, I think one of the things too, is when we think about oil and gas, that is a very strict reporting system, so that's why we have so much more information about like a home heating oil spill, things like that, because deliverer has to report it, and we have all that information. When it's something that's just happening on an individual level, you don't have that kind of control, and I don't think having an ordinance would necessarily fix that, but I think it would.
think
Maybe
it
have
would
some
help.
more awareness.
Yeah, I think the awareness factor.
well, we would have to vote on it as a town, right, it would come up, so,
Well,
isn't
as
that
an
how,
ordinance.
yes.
But I think just information transfer will
Even
get
if it
some
didn't pass,
people, and when you
People
talk
get
to your
it.
neighbors and
Yeah.
say, you did what?
Yeah, I mean, it would just
Yeah.
like if you drive by somewhere and you see the burn pile with tires on it or something, you might be like, oh, wait a minute. yeah, I don't know. Okay, anyway,
Any further thoughts on the water quality issue and having, the committee possibly subsidize that whole thing?
Well, if we're gonna have water-
If you wanna get a handle on water, that's a quick way to do it.
Well, if we're gonna do the water quality checks in the fall,
Yeah,
we
okay,
could do it then,
but this,
and then pay for it.
I'll be happy to talk with the laboratory and find out if probably other communities around the state have been doing this for years. Paying for water quality tests for individuals. I mean, you gotta be a little bit sensible about, so, control, of course, they're gonna find out it's free, so to speak, and there'll be a lot more quality tests, but is that bad?
No,
I think we need to figure out how much it would cost,
Yeah.
because,
I can find out that very quickly,
okay,
it's a phone call. But, I'd love to see the committee do that, because we can't get a handle on wells very well, we can't tell them how deep to go, or whether, the location, that's a different issue. But you certainly could, find out about quality. I got a call from Ted, Tudor, about a month ago about whether the quality of the water would be affected by having garden in rubber tires. He had a property which had a lot of rubber tires, old tires, and he had filled them with plants and whatnot. He was worried about that affecting the water quality. And I said, well, test the water. Test your drinking water.
yeah,
I said, it's simple.
We do
I
not
said, I can't
recommend.
tell you that my suspicion isn't wrong.
they're what, used tires?
Yeah, we do not recommend that you grow food in used tires anymore because of
You don't recommend what?
that people grow food in used tires anymore and eat
Yeah, I would
it.
expect not, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
you'd be shocked, but.
Is it from the
Well, you do see them.
So many
You do
questions.
see them.
that
Yeah,
yeah,
All I could suggest is to get a sample bottle, it's free,
right.
and then test it. I don't know what the price is, but he told me
Yeah.
it was.
That's kind of a weird-
$50 or something.
Task, but. It's neat.
And I think that's exactly what he did.
Okay.
all right, one last thing here and we'll wrap it up. So Rod Pendleton has agreed to talk late September. Would love to, collaborate with Maddie on the content. I'll let him know that.
Yeah.
Is it go?
Yeah.
I think we should put it up on Zoom and record it, and then we can maybe have that on our website too, so people can go back and watch it again.
And it's sponsored by IIT.
No, his last one was, this one is by us, we have money. to
Oh,
pay.
good,
Yeah.
great, I thought.
Yeah. That was the $500.
You're gonna have to stand up and talk about the committee.
Oh, I will? Okay.
Well, I certainly, I think one of the things that we don't have is visibility
Yeah, yeah.
Agree.
and,
Okay.
you're engaging and,
Well, and if people are interested, it might. Expand ourselves outside of just 5 people, which
Yeah,
would be good
yeah.
for longevity and thinking about
Definitely.
the
We-
future. Cause I think the groundwater committee. Has been in a lull because there haven't really been,
We have been in a lull.
it's good sometimes
Yeah.
when things are given a break so people can focus on other things, but. I think the next 20 years, we've already seen from the past few years that things are gonna be a little bit different, even thinking about water. I mean, I think about like 10 years ago, thinking about water conservation was not as much on the forefront for a place like Maine. We're there now, so I think we could expand our ranks a little bit,
It'd be great.
be a little bit more visible.
We now have one empty seat as well, so if anyone knows of anyone who would like to join.
I think Rod should probably try. He's got a lot going on right now, so I don't know if he would, but.
Do you think you would? Can you
I'll reach out.
reach out? Okay.
I can out from
Great. Yeah, it'd
One
be
other
great.
question I'd like to
Busy man.
bring up, which is kind of far-fetched, but it's possible. Ted McLeod, I asked him how he was doing on this well drilling up island. He said he was using a dowser. And the dowser was JD,
Oh,
a local guy.
oh,
So I did a little homework on dowsing. And of course, I'm a scientist and I said, wait a minute, what's the data that supports this stuff? Apparently, dowsing is used quite often to locate wells because the well driller himself does not determine whether the well is going to be drilled. He said that's not his responsibility, because he's very careful about that. The homeowner determines where the well is going to be located. And if you use a hydrologist or dowser, that's up to you. But he doesn't make that determination. The homeowner has says, I want it there, that's where they put it, because there's too much liability.
Right.
If he chooses where to put the well.
If it's dry, you still have to
Oh,
pay for what
if
they
it
did.
doesn't come in,
Right.
and you're out several $1,000s, guess who's gonna get sued?
Yeah.
So, anyway, dowsing is kind of an interest, I don't wanna suggest that we.
I would not personally endorse
I'm
that.
just saying that if this came up in a conversation,
Yeah.
that they do use dowsers on the island from time to time.
I will say I have had great success with dowsing. I also one time hit a line when I was drilling with dowsing when I was told I wouldn't. So, it's in my personal experience, not great, but some, you know what, there are some very
Maybe better than
smart
nothing.
people. I have no
I'm
idea.
curious about that though, because it's
Yeah, it has not been tested to be true, but there are a lot of
Works,
things
don't
in
question
that
it,
world.
right? It didn't seem to work up island at the new fire station, but
That's too bad, yeah, it's not, yeah, but,
they still had to go down 400 feet,
yeah.
whatever. Anyway, I'll put that out, it's not as a serious discussion at this point, we'll get too many other things to do.
You're not the first person who has asked about dowsing, and you will not be the last, I never have a good answer.
And one of the associations for the dowsing organizations is in Danville, I think it's in Maine, Saco, Maine.
Yeah.
They have a whole organization that's dedicated
Yeah.
to that technology, whatever it might be.
It's usually two coat hangers, and as you're walking, they move in towards each other. I have had a water dowser show me how to do it, and I personally have not been successful. I do not have the touch. I don't know what that says about me as a person.
It's a special touch involved, isn't it?
I think, so yeah.
Is it like an electrical thing or electromagnetic?
It
or-
works great for electric magnetic lines, actually. It does not work on water.
I don't think we should put it on our webpage.
I would not put that on it.
All right, well, oh, you know what? We didn't approve the minutes. Do we approve them?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wrote down they
Yeah.
were approved.
Okay, good, thank you.
And I will, whatever the schedule is.
And a second.
Right up on that.
Oh, I love this.
God, isn't that great?
This is great.
I know, gives you all sorts of information.
And if you give me back that piece of paper I passed around to
Oh,
them,
yeah, right.
although I can pick it
Did
up.
I
If you have it, it doesn't matter.
Wait, this one?
We've got,
This is the river.
I know, that's great. I mean, especially like, I think about me, I've never had a septic, it's all now, so I've never really had to think about that.
Okay, awesome, thank you, that is helpful. All right.
I
so we
just
just
did
did-
although I'm suspicious. You can't help it.
Are we- oh, yeah, adjourns.
Yeah.
I'll go get Carrie. But we should,
Have a water level testing subcommittee.
yeah.
Ready.
No, we should figure out when we're gonna meet to.
Yeah.
But I asked Priscilla, I haven't heard back from her, I know she's.
It sounds like she's busy.
What happened?
I think you're still being recorded.
Sit on top there.
Dan, did you have any questions?
No, this was very interesting.
You can't see me.
No, I'm still kind of putting together my thoughts on what I'm writing about. I think it's going to be, sort of an overview of the drought, and I'm going to touch on what was brought up at the last select board meeting about draining the fire pond to water landscaping. I don't know if Janice is still there. I also heard that bit about 5 new wells, and then I asked someone who worked for the property in question, and they said that wasn't the case, and maybe they were referring to the 5 wells that had been there from previous owner or an owner, maybe an owner, two back. And I don't think those wells are operational, but it's the island rumor cycle. So I have no idea which of those is actually true.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this has been great. If I do have questions, I may email some of you specifically. Maddie, I'm glad you're on the committee. You seem like
Happy to be here.
you're a good resource. But yeah,
Definitely.
thanks guys.
All right, thanks, Dan. All right,